Ay, 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 ay.
Well, hello! Hi everybody, hope you're all doing well. The last couple of days have been a complete shit show, but thankfully it's all for a good cause. For me, nothing much has changed besides getting a new microphone, so hopefully now you can handle listening to my voice for more than 15 seconds. Anyway, welcome to Champions of the Rift, the series where I give you the ins and outs of League of Legends champions while trying to make you laugh. This time, we're taking a look at Fiddlesticks, the ancient fear. So without further ado, let's suck our way into it.
How many layers of irony are you on? Like maybe 5 or 6 right now, my dude. You are like a baby. Watch this. Suck.
So, Fiddlesticks' lore is two things, spooky and weird. For all that was known, he was just another tale, a myth told by everyone in Runeterra to frighten young children. The story of his conception, how he looked, what he did, it was all constantly getting reshaped and respun and passed down by countless generations by storytellers. He was basically like Siren Head or Slenderman, and just like them, no one really believed a silly old monster called Fiddlesticks. But things started changing. Guards, travelers, and many more people who scouted outside of Demacia were starting to disappear. Farmers had terrified looks on their faces and talked about seeing crows that weren't crows, and hearing sounds that weren't sounds. Something had returned, and it was being described as an entity so utterly alien that it defied all magic, so ancient that it probably knew your grandmother's grandmother, and so universally feared that even animals shit themselves when its name was spoken. At least that's what the stories say. With no form, no thoughts, and no understanding of the world it inhabits, its only objective is to build himself into the crude shape of the people that fear it. He is a terror of all living things, a demon before demons that was given life in the first terrible scream of creation. His name is Fiddlesticks, and he is very, very real. So, how is Fiddlesticks in game? Well, he is, dare I say it, a perfect rework. And that might be a hot take, I know, but it's my honest opinion. I haven't had such a fun and fresh experience playing a champion rework since Idalia. And no, Aatrox does not count. That wasn't a rework. It was a champion release. But I'll talk more about that later. Let's go over this cursed scarecrow's abilities. Fiddleprix's passive is a harmless scarecrow. Fiddle doesn't have wards. Instead, he has effigies, which are basically copies of himself when he doesn't move for 2 seconds. They grant vision like normal wards, and when someone walks close to them, or inside the brush if you put them there, they will mimic a movement that can go from just running away to casting an ultimate or flashing, before disappearing and taking away the vision with them. He can store up to 2 of these at once, and both the cooldown and duration of these effigies are increased with your level. Additionally, when he reaches level 6, all the effigies you place down will also work as oracles. Jesus, that's a long passive. But it's also one of the only things that really changed about his kit from Old Fiddle. And holy crap, is it just an amazing passive. Fiddlesticks has always been about one thing: vision control. Surprising people from bushes or just anywhere that they can't see was, and gladly still is, all that he is about. Not only are they super fun to use, but the amount of vision that you can deny from the enemy team while putting down your own is insane. Just so you have an idea of this, in every single game of playing this champion, whether I was winning or feeding my ass off, I had the highest vision score in the entire game. This passive is no joke, and it solidifies what this champion's all about. Fiddlefix's Q is Terrify, and it has both a passive and an active. The passive allows Fiddle to affect any enemy with Dread after being out of combat and unseen for 2.5 seconds. What does Dread do? Well, when an enemy champion who is affected by Dread gets hit by an ability from Fiddle, it will fear them. Additionally, if Fiddle uses his
Suck.
or Reap while pretending to be an effigy, enemies hit by it will also be feared. The active is pretty much the same as old Fiddle. It's a point and click ability where Fiddlemits throws a crow at an enemy and fears them while doing magic damage that scales with AP and the target's current health. Fiddle can only fear an enemy once every few seconds, so if used again on the same target, Terrify will deal double damage instead. The ability itself is nothing special. Not that it isn't good, however. A point and click fear is pretty strong, and in some situations it can help you shut down a specific enemy or secure a kill in a flank gank, but at the end of the day, it really isn't that strong. However, the passive is a literal game changer, and I'll tell you why in a couple of minutes, so remember that. Oh, also, while being feared, you are slowed by 90%, which is really helpful so enemies don't just run away while you're trying to kill them. Unless you're Master Yi. If you try and fear him, he just... Fiddletits' W is Bountiful Harvest, or
Suck.
if you're an intellectual like me. No, this joke is not getting stale, shut up. Fiddle harvests the soul of all nearby enemies, channeling and tethering itself to them for up to 2 seconds, dealing magic damage and healing himself for a percentage of that pre-mitigation damage dealt every 0.25 seconds, with the last tick dealing additional magic damage. If the channel is not interrupted, 60% of the cooldown is refunded, and Fiddle doesn't need vision of a target to use this ability. Holy shit, I just got an aneurysm. This is one of Fiddlebit's signature abilities, and they only made it 10 times better with this rework. The fact that you can consume everything in your range now allows you to not only heal a shit ton after jumping in the middle of the enemy team, but it also allows you to do most camps lightning fast, and be pretty healthy by the end of it. Fiddledicks' E is Reap, and it's his most simple ability. He slashes all enemies in a scratch-like area with his scythe, dealing magic damage and slowing enemies hit for 1.25 seconds. Additionally, the enemies that get hit in the center of this area are also silenced for the same amount of time. I don't know what many people think of the change to this ability, but I personally think it's a great one. It's still a silence, it still does decent damage, but it now adds more skill and options to the Fiddle player while taking away his annoying ass, boring spam and lane crow. Not much else to say about it, just overall a really good change and a really good ability. Fiddlesticks' ultimate is Crowstorm, and it's the ability that turns this champion from a scarecrow with daddy issues to that one SCP you read about or listen to at 3 AM and it made you paranoid about your bedroom window.
Let me in!
After channeling for 1.5 seconds, Fiddle blinks to a target location with a bunch of murderous crows flying around him for 5 seconds, dealing magic damage to everyone in the death crow circle every 0.25 seconds. Now, I know, this is just the same ability as old Fiddle, right? Well, yes, you're absolutely right. But do you remember what I said when I talked about his Q ability earlier? The passive is a literal game changer, and I'll tell you why in a couple of minutes, so remember that. Well, the time has come. You see, dear viewers, Terrify's passive allows you to basically fear anyone that doesn't have vision of your abilities, and your ult is no exception. This means that Fiddlesticks can jump from Fog of War into your entire enemy team and fear them without them even realizing it. And by the way, I didn't say anything about this, but the time that he can fear you increases with level, all the way up to 2 seconds. Old Fiddle shits his ult was already a big threat as it was, but the fact that they gave him the ability to single-handedly win a game by pressing a button, and a passive that removes the only way you have to counter that, is completely absurd. And this is just his ult. He still has his Terrify to fear whoever didn't get hit by his ult, his silence, and his drain on your entire enemy team. All of that combined makes this champion the first AoE assassin in the entire game, with the only thing closest to him being Katarina. So what do you max first? Well, I personally max
Suck.
first because the healing and the damage overall allows you to clear the jungle faster, push lanes faster, and fight enemies easier than any other ability. Second, I max Q because fearing for longer and dealing more percentage health damage sounds broken. And lastly, I max Reap. I am honestly baffled by this champion, but in a good way. The amount of close games that I just completely ruined by pressing one button over a wall is truly what's terrifying about this guy. And yes, he has weaknesses. He is incredibly squishy, he sucks at 1v1s unless you legit stand still and auto him while he sucks you off, and without his ult, he isn't really a champion, so pre-6 he can be bullied pretty easily and his ganks aren't that strong. But the good things highly overwrite the bad ones. And at the end of the day, there's a question that I feel like I need to answer. Is he fun? Yes, he is. In fact, he's one of the most original, entertaining, and broken junglers you can play at the moment. And this goes for both gameplay and the champion itself. Besides the amazing visual quality, there's something I didn't notice until listening to most of this champ's quotes. But it's genius what they did with them. For those that don't know, Fiddlesticks' quotes are his version of the last thing his victim said. And the more aggressive his actions become, and the closer he gets to you, so does his quotes from the people he killed. What do I mean by this? Well, when you walk a long way of Summoner's Rift, he will say quotes like,
They haven't come back from the fields. It's been 3 days. Fiddlesticks is just a fable. A story to scare children.
but when it's a shorter walk, he says things like,
Is someone there? Don't be scared. It can't hurt you.
and when he is attacking you, he says things like,
It's in the house. Please, no. It's alive.
You see what they're doing here, right? As he gets closer to action, his quotes, or more exactly his victim's quotes, also get more scared, until the point where they are screaming for their lives. And when taunting enemy champions, he just repeats a quote from the champion's biggest fear. When taunting Misfortune, for example, Fiddle screams her real name as her mother before she died by gangplank. It's genuinely really cool, and I haven't seen Riot do anything even close to this with other champions. This is honestly my favorite rework in terms of champions design, and I hope Riot keeps making more champions like this, and less of this cancer spree of new champions we've been getting. Now, I think I've given my thoughts for long enough. Let's teach you how to fiddle the diddle. Early game, you want to farm your jungle as much as you can, and look for easy ganks that allow you to reach level 6 faster. Knowing your matchups is also important to know if you can invade to steal a camp or two and get level 6 faster, or to be prepared to get counter jungled. Either way, after getting your ult, you want to start taking over the game. Mid game is where you should be using your passive to take out vision and get important ults out that win you big fights for objectives. Bot lane is always good to gank once you get 6, because after dealing with them, you can do Drake no matter how much health you have because of your drain. In the late game, you want to keep clearing vision with your effigies and pink wards, and look for big ultimates over walls or from bushes. However, you're gonna need your teammates to cooperate with you, since if you can't find a good ult, or just don't ult at all, you're gonna be extremely useless in teamfights.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Trico's Tips and Tricks, your favorite show. Today's contestant is gonna be no one other than Fiddlesticks. Show us what you got, Twig Boy.
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about a little jungle clear secret you can do pretty easily. Because your drain will now suck everything close to it, there's a special place in the middle of red and raptors that will allow you to drain both camps at the same time. Just don't forget to tell your bot lane to get the fuck back to their lanes. You can also do this with blue buff and Gromp, and it's really up to you where you want to start. There is a very simple to learn, hard to master combo on Fiddlesticks that will allow you to not only gank pre-6 more easily, but also to properly shut down an enemy from doing anything for the longest time possible. The combo is going to be fearing someone with your Q, and then as that fear ends, you want to silence them with your E. This will give you a 3.25 second CC chain where the enemy can't do anything besides auto attack and run away as you give them the
Suck.
If they are feared by your ult, it doesn't matter. Using your Q first is still the best option because it adds a pretty decent amount of damage before you start silencing and draining them. Another cool trick about Fiddle is with his ult. There's a specific place in top lane that will allow you to cover a bit more ground with a blink from your ultimate. I suggest trying it out a bit in the practice tool though. This last one isn't really a trick or a tip, just something fun you can do. Since Fiddle Crips looks exactly like his effigies if you stand still for 2 seconds, you can trick your enemies by putting an effigy next to you and then standing still. They will probably ignore you, allowing you to give them the thorn in the ass special. For builds, I run a very basic set. Jungle item into Sorceress Boots into Zonias every game, and then the next 3 items are based on the enemy team or just my personal preference. Rabadons, Liandries, Morellonomicon, and Rallies are all great options. For runes, I like to run the Domination tree, more specifically Electrocute with Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, and Ultimate Hunter, so I can burst harder and get more ults. For the secondary tree, I like to take Inspiration, with Cosmic Insight and Commencing Stopwatch, so I can have Flash, Ult, and Zonia sooner. And for marks, I take CDR per level, Adaptive, and Armor. For matchups, anything that messes with your jungle pre-6 or that can stun you while you're draining them is pretty complicated. Examples of this are Pantheon, Hecarim, and Nocturne. Some good matchups that allow you to do your thing are Gragas, Kindred, and Kha'Zix, since they don't have the damage to kill you through your drain, and your CC combo takes away a big part of their utility. For skins we have Brexit Fiddlesticks, Why Do I Hear Boss Music Fiddlesticks, You're Getting Shit for Christmas Fiddlesticks, Hi Georgie Fiddlesticks, Pirates of the Caribbean Fiddlesticks, Terminator Fiddlesticks, Hey, do you remember the Mummy? No you don't. Fiddlesticks, High Noon Fiddlesticks, and Trick or Treat Fiddlesticks. And that's Fiddlesticks, a great rework and a great champion overall. He doesn't have much room for improvement after a couple of games, but besides that, he's great if you're looking for a fun AP jungler who can really make the game-winning plays. Well guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then please consider leaving a like on it, and if you have any opinions or ideas you would like to tell me, then please feel free to leave them in the comments below. The name's Trico, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.